Welcome. I'm JJ Flizanes.
And I am Doug Sandler. And
dun, 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 dun.
you know where we are?
Atlanta, Georgia.
We have been so many places over the last few months. This is crazy, JJ.
It's all good, Doug.
I know. It's leading to a better future.
The future's so bright, I gotta wear shades.
Is that why you're wearing those sunglasses?
That's why I do have them on, yes. It is like 9:30 at night in our hotel room here in Atlanta, Georgia. And
welcome to the Ritz-Carlton. Okay, it's a Motel 6, but we don't tell anybody that.
Neither. And I had a great idea for a show.
Wow, more great ideas from JJ Flizanes.
But I was spending the weekend with a good friend who is technically still family by marriage, but is just a friend for life. And I'm really happy that I met her. And there's been a lot of kind of catching up on life in general. And then Doug came to town today. And through some of our interactions and thinking about sort of the big picture of life and transitions and relationships and where we're going, a word came into my awareness that I thought, you know what, I've never done a show on this particular topic. It's been intertwined in other episodes, but never hit directly on the head. And that topic is confidence.
This is a good one. I do love confidence.
Confidence.
Yep. All attached to that self-esteem, self-value, self-worth.
Yeah. Because there are areas of our lives that not just Doug and I, but I just mean people in general, there are different situations and circumstances and even relationships and people where you probably change because there are times where you feel confident and have self-esteem in a certain situation. And then there are times where you don't. And I wanted to address it from that vantage point today because I know for a lot of you, some of the things that you may struggle with, like I'm thinking of a few clients, some of the things you struggle with is accepting yourself for where you are to move into the next phase of where you want to go. And because it's new, because it's different, because you have to take a risk and you're not sure how to do it, there's some fear involved. And, you know, we all go through it. And I think it's important to share the stages of some things, of how we get there, of how we've worked our different processes, because from relationship to relationship. So, I mean, just even in the ways of relationship, why don't we just start there? Let's talk about confidence in relationships. Confidence in relationships, how you get it, how you already have it, why you have it, and how to get it if you don't have it.
This sounds good. Let's take a deep dive. I'm ready. You have questions or do you have answers?
Both.
Okay. Surprise.
Of course, I have both. I had to laugh because I told Danielle that this whole time I said, you know, Doug and I are going to record when he gets here. But as much as I've been talking in the last 3 days, I could have recorded 4 different shows.
Oh my gosh, just sitting at dinner alone tonight, the three of us, we could have recorded an entire batch of episodes.
Right. Well, when you get people who are connecting and sharing good ideas and like to talk to each other, it's easy to do. So confidence, and it came up at dinner. So that's why it kept coming up. You brought it up about things. So let's talk about the first time, Doug Sandler, you felt confident in a relationship, any relationship.
Okay. Let's see. I'd probably go back to any of the relationships that happened between college and me getting married for the first time. And the confidence was in my ability to communicate and my ability to be a good date. I think that was really important. I thought the more dates that I went on as I dated, you know, for those, it was just a few years because I got out of college at 21 and I think I was married at 25. So I know that it was pretty quick. But for those 4 years, the many dates that I had gone on, I always felt like I was a really confident dater. Not a cocky. There's a difference between being cocky and having a huge ego and being somebody that's confident about what your skill set is. If your skill set is you're a good communicator, man, you're gonna go places in this world. And I know you will. So I do remember being confident and not really, I guess in a gentle way, not really caring what somebody else thought about me, confident in my own skin about who I was and what I was. Even with some self-esteem issues, you still can have a level of confidence without it being false. So I do remember dating early on, having confidence, and being able to capture somebody's interest in me because I was confident in the way that I held myself and the way that I communicated.
It's so interesting because I'm sitting here thinking, I don't know in most dating situations until later that I felt confident at all. I had to learn that. I would say that that's probably...
Well, where's the lack of confidence? I mean, it's not in having a good, you have to look at each component. You can't just look at the overall relationship and say, am I confident within this relationship? You have to look at what stages are you in and what parts of the relationship are you trying to be more confident? Are you confident with your communication? Are you confident with who you are and what you do for a living? Are you confident in what you do for hobbies? And are you confident in...
Okay, so thinking about my college relationship, which lasted about 4.5 years, and I thought I'd marry him. We were best friends, and we did everything together, and we were attached at the hip. And when it came to him, I was confident in his love for me and his dedication to me, in our relationship as friends. Obviously, when we broke up, I was 21. And part of the reason why we broke up is because I thought, is this it? Like, this is my first relationship. And at that time, quite honestly, we were both still virgins. I hadn't had sex yet. And part of it was definitely was a decision of I didn't want to get pregnant. Like, I didn't want to have the opportunity to get pregnant while I was still in school or building a career. So it was a conscious choice to not have sex. At one point, I did want to have sex, and he said no because of he didn't want me to regret it. And in some ways, it was a good decision. It was a smart decision. It was definitely a mature decision. But in some ways, I regret it because it was a very healthy relationship, and I would have had the vulnerability and the support that I needed. And because the next person after that, who I did end up having sex with, that created a level of insecurity in me that I probably still have today. And so so
tell me about the confidence. Confidence in what then? So help me understand.
Well, in confidence in what you bring to the table, confidence in your ability to know who you are and what your worth is and what to accept or not accept from other people.
I don't think I've ever had a lack of confidence in any... there's a difference between having confidence and having a healthy self-esteem.
Okay, all right. Let's talk... Well, what's the difference between confidence and self-esteem? Because you did have a lack of confidence or self-esteem in your last relationship.
Yeah, because I felt like in my last relationship, which was a very quick marriage, just a little over 2 years in my life. And it was a relationship that lasted about 6 years, maybe a little bit more than 6 years. I always felt off balance. And the off balance part was me feeling insecure about the relationship. She was significantly younger than me, extremely attractive. I always had this level of jealousy or something. There was no reason. She was not giving me any... there was no reason for me to feel that way, but she was not helping me. She was not giving me any reason not to feel that way, and that was all me. It's not her job to make me feel confident about me, and it was not her job to make me feel confident in the relationship. Yes, she could have done a better job, I think, in helping me feel more secure, but again, that's not her responsibility. That's my responsibility from within. I think a lot of people that hear the topic of confidence say, "Oh yeah, that's my problem." Lack of self-esteem. "Oh yeah, that's my problem too." Lack of being able to be strong. "Oh yeah, that's my problem too." And I would say that you've got to get out of your own way oftentimes in order to see clearly and feel clearly what your confidence and what your self-worth and your value is. Without you stepping up and feeling good about yourself, those things are going to be in the tank.
Okay, looking back now at yourself in that relationship, what advice would you give yourself about how to be more confident or have a greater level of self-esteem in that relationship?
Okay, that's simple. And that is, your self-worth is not determined by what anybody thinks about you.
Okay, well, so what would you tell yourself to do differently or think differently?
You just, I guess, again, I might need help clarifying this a little bit more, but if I ever felt insecure about the relationship, feeling like maybe she's looking at somebody a little bit differently, and maybe has a relationship with somebody else, or maybe feeling confident in her ability to have a relationship with another male without me getting all jealous about it, I don't know. I might need some help. Why don't you help?
Let's do the comparison. You very clearly feel very differently in this relationship. What's the difference?
Communication.
Okay. So the level of communication was not where you felt open or trusting or aware of all the thoughts and feelings and things that were going on potentially in that relationship versus now you do?
Well, here's how a good conversation goes. Let me tell you where I'm insecure. Can you help me understand why I may be insecure about my feeling like if you have a male as a friend, why shouldn't I be insecure about that? Can you help me with that? Just having that conversation with you would allow me to, or my feeling your love for me, that would help me overcome that also. In my previous relationship, having that conversation was so difficult because it made me feel really little. It made me feel like she's up here and I'm down here. And because she has this power over me, that further magnifies my insecurity and my lack of confidence. Us just being able to communicate and having a conversation about it, regardless of whether you give me any reason to feel any differently about myself because of the words that you say, just the conversation alone makes me know that you're aware of it. And hopefully, if the relationship is good, there'll be some level of sensitivity to that. And I think in our case, there's a heightened level of sensitivity, which helps me, again, put myself in a position of being able to have more confidence. I'm not worried that you can have a male friend and not feel like, why do I need to be jealous? Why should I not be jealous about that situation? I'm completely confident in my relationship because I feel your love for me and I know that I have value and worth in this relationship. And just the fact that we communicate about it creates a huge level of value for me.
Did you not feel loved in your last relationship?
I did. I felt loved, but I didn't feel the communication was valuable. I didn't feel the communication was there. I didn't feel like I got anything from that communication that would help me. I was always like, just stop. Just don't feel that way. That, almost making me feel like I'm a child to a parent and the parent is telling me, don't do that. That will hurt you. And I'm like, that's not, I want an equal relationship. When there's some equality, it helps build my confidence for me.
Okay. As a person, do you feel like you've grown in confidence or self-esteem in the last year?
Oh, yeah, completely.
Okay.
And not just because of the relationship that I had with my ex-wife, but there's so many other things. It's not just how I communicated with her. It's how I now hold myself differently, how I make decisions based upon what I think would be good for me and good for my world and help me see my own value. It's not just our relationship, it's my relationship with everybody. I think all of my relationships have changed. Not because I've gone back individually and changed those relationships. It's how I perceive, especially in the situation that I just got out of, which was a very brief marriage and a short relationship. It was 5-year relationship or 6 or 7 year relationship. And my feeling is that I got really hurt in that relationship, and I had to really take an assessment of what was, with your help, we did this together. Take an assessment of what is it about me, not about them. What was it about me that created me to act differently and do things differently? So that's where I was.
I think it's such an interesting topic because we were talking about love languages tonight. And one of the things, I know we probably have more women than men that listen to the show, although men can do it too. But, in our relationship, your love language is words of affirmation. And my words of affirmation is probably third for me, maybe fourth. I don't know. But it isn't definitely not one or two.
Nope.
And it's not because I don't appreciate them. And it's not because I don't like them, but there are times where, I probably, because of how I grew up, my mother is, and I love my mother and she's got amazing qualities, but my mother's so insecure that, for many reasons, that you couldn't give her a compliment and have her accept it. She would immediately either tell you no or say, oh, no, like if it was about her cooking or if she looked nice. There was very rare a time that I heard her say, thank you, or agree. Now, there were times there would be funny times where we're like, oh yeah, don't I look good? Very few, but they weren't something that was sustained. And I think that, where it starts is we get confidence and self-esteem from our parents, first and foremost. And then from the modeling that they provide for us. And, when it comes to some of the people that listen to the show and transitioning into new businesses and new relationships, and I see a lot of lack of self-love that I've cultivated over time because I've decided to. It's because I had a mother who didn't value herself or doesn't value herself to the level that I believe she should, that then created me saying, this is bullshit. And I don't ever want to have that feeling. I want to value myself. It doesn't mean that I came out of the gate. Trust me, this has been a lifelong process. And there are still things that I'm not necessarily confident about or have self-esteem about. But I've spent a lifetime developing a relationship with myself to be comfortable and confident in the areas that I choose to be, and to acknowledge where I don't, and to either get help or to delegate. But being comfortable enough to say, you know what, that's not something I'm very good at. And I don't need to be good at it. I can delegate that. So when it comes to self-esteem and confidence, one of the first things I wanted to just share with you, because Doug had said this today, we were at brunch and we were walking back and he said, you know what, I think you need to date somebody who thinks you're less attractive. And it was because I either didn't receive the compliment to the degree he wanted me to.
And I was not breaking up with her at that time. I was using it as an example, just so everybody knows nothing's wrong with our relationship.
But I thought, I know I didn't. I'm conscious of not deflecting. And so my question to all of you out there, especially you women, how often does someone compliment you and you don't actually receive it? Doug gave me a lecture today at dinner about receiving and believing. And Danielle wanted me to call this, or my friend Danielle wanted me to call this episode Receiving and Believing. But I know there's a bunch of you out there who get compliments or people do things for you and you don't actually acknowledge that someone is providing something for you. And even if you don't believe it, you won't receive it. And where this ties into all of the different lessons on all my podcasts is if you want more from your life, you want better, you want to use law of attraction, you want more money, you want a better relationship, it has to start with the ability to receive more. It can't start out with just wanting more. You can want more all you want, but if you aren't in a place to receive it, you won't get it.
Completely agree.
And maybe you'll get it, but you will sabotage it because you don't believe you're worth it.
So let me just make sure I understand this right. I said something that actually made sense. Is that right at dinner?
Well,
I'm going to give it to myself since I'm a words of affirmation guy. I feel like I hit a chord. I feel like I hit a chord that really does resonate. I think it does.
Here's where what you said was accurate. Of course, it made sense. And you say many things that make sense, dear. I don't think you're nonsensical.
Thank you, honey.
You're welcome. Where it was accurate for me is that I've been going through some, let's say, physical issues that aren't life-threatening that I'm healing right now. But in the course of that, have created an environment that I actually have been more self-abusive than probably ever before, which isn't good for me. And I recognize it. And I've been straddling the line of doing things to help myself that on one hand could look like self-love and taking care of yourself, and they are. But here's where I also know I'm getting in my own way. So in the law of attraction, it's not about what you're saying. It's not even about what you're focusing on. It's about what you're vibrating. So what that means is, because I would hear this from people for so long and have to call bullshit on it. They'd say, well, I keep saying I want $1 million, or I keep saying the universe knows. I put on a vision board. I do affirmations about that I want a relationship. You can say, you can look, if you do not believe and are able to receive on a emotional, vibrational level, it doesn't matter what you're saying. And so part of what I know I've been doing to get in my own way is while I'm doing all of these things to help myself, what I'm actually activating every single time is self-hate and disgust and fear.
And can I say that as not an outsider, but as someone that is not you, so I'm just taking myself and defining myself as an outsider in this case, I see it. I see it every day. So I know that is not positivity. I know that as much as the law of attraction is where your beliefs are, you're getting exactly what you're asking for, unfortunately, because you are doing all of those self-love things. You go to the nth degree to heal yourself by doing things. But I see, I feel that you are at a much lower vibration than not that I've known you without this going on in your life. But I see it, and I know it, and I keep thinking, and what do I say? What do I say to you?
You're beautiful.
And do you think I don't mean it?
No, I think you mean it.
I totally mean it.
I appreciate that you mean it and that you say it. I will say that it took a while for me to accept it because I wasn't accepting it. And I wasn't accepting of myself because this is a temporary situation. It will change. Even if I do nothing, it will eventually change. But it's my impatience with it that is creating this stress. And I am towing the line. And yeah, I will tell you all more as time goes on, as things shift and change. And I want to share the journey. And I'm starting to share it now. But the main lesson here is that I know a lot of you have this idea of self-care. You want a lot of attraction. You want better relationships. You want different opportunities. And you're doing some of the things. You're doing some of the affirmations. But the whole reason I created the 30-day manifestation challenge was to help people and support people in just feeling good, period, on any subject, not on a specific subject, just on any subject, because it will help you get out of your own way to attract better things. So we know that because if you've been following this show or me at all, you know that I've been attracting amazing things. So on many levels, my frequency is freaking clean, up there, high, and allowing abundance on so many levels. But there's one subject where my vibration and frequency is not helping me. And I am not, and what I am doing is only reactivating a wound and a belief and a fear. It's really what it comes down to. It's a fear. And how do you get out of that? So the first thing I would recommend that you do, especially if you have someone as wonderful as Doug in your life and it's something you're dealing with that's maybe a physical issue, when he says, because trust me, this was not my last relationships. My last relationships, and I'll say ships because I'll go back a couple to say that there was much more judgment and much more nitpicking or not positive affirmation. So it did take me a while to actually want to believe you and think you were being completely honest and not just because your love language is words of affirmation, not just being charming or giving me a line. So there was a little bit of distrust because I had been used to people that would say things that would be more honest or reflect back what I was thinking. And I would think, yeah, well, they're right. And so you coming in and ignoring all the things that I'm dealing with and just taking me as a whole and saying you're just beautiful has taken a while for me to accept that and to receive that. It's not going to change overnight, but how I'm going to help myself is to hear it and to do exactly what you said, is to receive it and to choose to believe it and to allow myself to be vulnerable with myself, if you will, deal with the fear that I have, acknowledge it, and then just decide also to believe something positive.
But just as you know this, as you're listening to this, just know that this doesn't have to happen for someone that is a physical ailment. This could be something as little as, and we were using this as another example tonight from about my first serious relationship, my first marriage, her inability to get beyond a certain pay grade, a few dollars more an hour or a bigger salary or whatever it is that she was looking for, is simply because her inability to believe that she was worth more. That was it. I mean, she would look at me and she would say, it's easy for you to make money. All you do is go out and you just be you and you're going to make money. I'm like, fucking A, and that's what you should do too. You should have the confidence to know that your value, if you're listening to this and you're at a job that you don't like or you're at a pay scale that you don't like, the only reason you're there is because that's what you have determined that is what your self-worth is. And I would encourage you, don't tomorrow go and quit your job. That's not what I'm encouraging you to do. But I'm encouraging you to vibrate at a frequency where you know that you're worth more. If you're making $25,000 a year and you think that you're worth much more than that, you are worth more than that. You have got to put yourself in better alignment to get the things that you want to get by putting yourself at a different frequency.
Okay, so I'm listening to you and I agree with you 100%. Here's where there's an unfair advantage for some people who didn't grow up like you. You had both parents who, while on some ends did some not good things, but on the end of where they fed you with positive affirmations and belief in yourself and the sky's the limit and there's no restraint and you can be what you want to be and you're a wonderful person, those messages got embedded in you very early. And so while we all struggle with things, because you do too, there's things that where, when you hit an upper limit, you become insecure because you haven't been there before. So because you haven't been there before, you're not confident about it because you haven't been there before. And so for people that are listening who are thinking, well, but I don't feel that, Doug. I don't feel like I'm worth more than $25,000. What do you do then? And my recommendation for you is one of the things I started doing when I started my business, there was a really great book about branding that had to do with assessing your skill sets and assessing your strengths. So here's a couple things to think about. And I think this is a good test for anybody. There's a test called the Strength Finders test. And I believe there's like a $10 or $15 test that includes your top maybe 10 strengths. And I think it's a really great test for anybody to take if you don't know what your strengths are. If you have no idea, if you can't tell me, name 5 really great things about you that you do really well. If you can't do that, I would start there because everyone has skills, everyone has gifts, and everyone has a gift and a talent, and everyone has something that people gravitate towards you for that you may not even recognize. So if you're someone who is stuck in a job, stuck in a relationship, and you don't think you're worth more, you can't get more, you don't even think more is possible, but secretly you do want it, but you just don't think you can have it, you have to start changing your view of who you are. And in order to do that, we can take a couple different angles. And the first one would be something as simple as the Strength Finders test. So you can Google that, Strength Finders 2.0. And there's one that's like, I think $100. It's like really, really over the top. I don't think you need all that, quite honestly. The first one just gives you your top like 10 strengths or something like that, or top 5. And that's enough. A top 5 strengths is something to think about, because if I said, Doug, what are you really good at? The top 5 things you're good at.
Geez, top 5. Okay, so I'm good at building relationships. I'm good at storytelling. I'm good at customer service. I'm good at, did I say building relationships? I already say that one. I'm good at selling. I'm good at managing people.
Okay, stop. That's 5.
Okay.
On the flip side, name 5 things you think you're not good at.
Oh, geez. Okay. How many? I'm not good at finance, accounting, spreadsheets. I'm not good at...
You're good at finance. What are you talking about?
I don't know. Personal finance I may be good at. I don't like to do it. I may be good at it, but I don't like to do it. So I'm considering that.
You think that's okay?
I'm not good at... while I think I'm good at managing people, I'm not good at managing a lot of people. I don't want to manage a lot of people. I'm not good at details. I'm a much bigger picture guy.
That was 4.
Oh, that's 4? Gosh.
Give me a more personal one.
Let's see, personal one. I would like to have a healthier self-image. I think my confidence I wish I had a better self-image. I wish I would not have, okay, here's maybe better than that one. I wish I could get rid of scarcity as a part of my mentality.
Okay. To be fair, should I answer the same questions?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay. So what I'm good at, I think I'm a good teacher. I think I'm good at breaking concepts down into usable points for most people to understand. I think I'm good at cooking. I think I am good at science when it comes to the body and understanding how different things work together. I am good at telling people. I'm good at being direct. I'm very direct and to the point, and I'm really good at being efficient. I love to be efficient. I think that's a strength of mine. And then I think I'm good at dancing.
Oh, you are. All of those things. I agree.
Okay. Now, the things I'm not good at. I am not good with being attacked. I'm not good when people blame me for how they feel or blame me for their circumstances. I'm better than I used to be, but it took a lot of learning to get there. I am not good at accounting or spreadsheets at all, and I will never do my taxes, and I'm totally fine with that.
Oh, I'm good at technology.
You're good at technology. I'm not good at being ultra neat and tidy.
I was waiting for that one. I thought that was going to be number one. Where did that one? Where's that? Why is that number three? That's number
I
one.
am not good at shopping, meaning like I'm not a shopper. I'm
Oh
not.
my gosh,
I'm not
she's
very.
horrible. She
I'm
hates
not a
shopping.
woman like that.
I get a
I'm-
limit
I'm
of
more a
2
man.
stores. That's a horrible limit. I love shopping. So for me, whenever I go out with JJ, it's very challenging because I want to go into a million stores. And I know that when JJ goes with me, I got a 2-store limit before she hits her limit. Okay.
And there's one more that I'm not good at. I am not good at forgiving myself. There we go. I'm not good at forgiving myself when things go wrong that I feel could have been fixed, aka my marriage. Okay, so there's some things that I'm not good at, and I'm sure if we sat and thought about it for a lot longer, both lists could get longer. But
What I'd be interested in seeing is if those that are listening to this before you take the Strengths Finder test, list the 5 things that you think are your strengths, and then take the test, and then actually see the things that in reality are probably your strengths. It's a very interesting, and I can't remember the exact results that I had, but I know that my results all related to communication, relationships, people, community. Those were like the strengths, and the tough things were like the detail-y things.
mine was motivator, activator,
Yeah.
ideas, having
Yeah.
ideas,
Yeah.
and I have a ton of ideas. Creativity is definitely a strength when it comes to creating things. So point being, you're in a job, you're in a relationship, you're in a place in life where you want more than that, but you keep hitting up against an upper limit of belief about yourself. And that's not going to change by a vision board or doing an affirmation. You have to start to change the belief about yourself. The root level is your relationship with yourself. And if you grew up with parents or friends or siblings or people who negatively affirmed you and that's in your head, we have to start changing the tape. Now, there are, of course, therapeutic things you could do for that, like hypnosis, which I strongly recommend everybody try. Hypnosis to get some of those positive messages into you. I even recommend self-hypnosis, where you record your own list of affirmations, your own list of beliefs about yourself that you can then play when you're sleeping or after you're meditating, because it's your words. And that's so powerful when you hear your own voice affirm yourself. But you have to do it from a place of belief. You have to get yourself to a place of belief. So back to the story about the branding book. When I started my business, I went out and I asked other people what they saw as my strengths. And I gave them a list to choose from of the different words. And that's also a really great exercise to reach out to some of your friends and family, because you have a story in your head about who you are and what you do. And other people have a story about who you are and what you do well. And I'm going to refrain by saying I'm not a big fan of asking for negative feedback. Like, meaning, lots of people have their own crap, and most of the time when they have a story about you that's negative, again, that's coming from some of their own wounds, how it's coloring that. I want you just to ask for positive feedback on what you do well, positive feedback about a strength that you have or a talent that you have, and just allow your friends and your family or your clients to show you something new about yourself that maybe you weren't ready to accept. It wasn't until I had a therapy session and I was told I was gifted that I actually even start to take into consideration that I was different or that I was smart, like in different ways. And then I saw Lisa and had a session with Lisa, and she again affirmed all these things that I think, or that I was thinking, and I would never say, because I thought, oh my God, people will think I'm so arrogant if I say that, or maybe who am I to think that? And then without saying a word, she reached into my brain and then affirmed all this stuff. And I went, okay, I didn't say any of it to her. I couldn't even believe she could hear those thoughts and know all that. And all of a sudden, I'm like, all right, I've had 2 people sort of affirm me in ways that are super meaningful that no one else in my life could do. And so that helped me to grow. And I want to help you to grow, but I want you to do it from a place of not only you accepting yourself in a new way, but also asking for feedback in a positive way. So that would be my recommendation on how to start to change, because everything you attract, every level you get to, really has to do with how you see yourself, how you put yourself out there, and that what you match on a frequency and vibrational level. This deal that Doug and I are doing that you guys now know about, one of the things that one of the owners said to me, he said something about my confidence level, and it was kind of shocking to hear it, but I was like, oh, okay. And he sees sort of my level of whatever, I forget what he said, but it was something about that I had a lot of confidence.
Well, I saw that in the first time I met you. The first time I met you, when we first started, when we hadn't even been friends yet, this was our first encounter, I thought that you were ultra smart. And then there was this air of confidence also that came out. It wasn't that I didn't think that that you were a good person. I just thought, man, she's really confident. She's really smart. And sometimes we don't see that about ourselves. And it's important to recognize that.
And at the time I met you, my marriage was in shambles and on the brink of, I was feeling confident in the space. I was feeling hopeful. That's what I was feeling. But I was confident. And by that point, actually, my show wasn't even doing what it's doing now. And so I didn't have the validation or affirmation that the path I was on was even still what was going to work out for me. So it's interesting because I think I'm so much better now than I was when I met you then. And that was only a year and a half ago.
Right.
As my own confidence level grows and self-esteem, and it's really about accepting myself, because there are still people out there who I encounter or who I network with, or I don't know however you want to say in the business world, associate with, and some of them are ultra successful but super insecure, and it's an interesting dynamic because there's this. It's like you're in high school and there's like this clique that goes on, and the cliquey thing becomes feeling like you're in your tribe, but it's about validating each other. And I see a lot of lack of confidence in very successful people because they lack self-esteem in other areas. They may make a lot of money, but they're completely insecure in other ways. And I think the stories that a lot of you guys and I have told myself about some of these people, if you will, like you look at someone else and think, wow, they're so confident. They're not afraid of anything. And that's not true at all.
So just know if you're insecure and listening to this, there's hope for you. You still can be very successful.
Of course. I mean, we all know the classic story of, people get to some sort of financial level and say, it didn't make me happy, or they commit suicide, or they're depressed, or some bad thing happens because all of this financial thing that you give so much credit to think if I have enough money, I'll be happy. No, that's not how it happens. In fact, so much so, I mean, that's basic law of attraction. It does nothing outside of yourself is going to create something inside yourself. You are going to attract and match what's on the inside. It doesn't matter what it looks like, and it doesn't help heal you. You have to start with that on your own. So let's go back and sort of review the point of today's show. Obviously, we're sharing some things about our own selves with you because I want you to understand that we're all on the same path together. Some of us may understand it differently or have tried different things, but we're all on the same path. There's no person that doesn't have an insecurity or that doesn't have an area to grow in terms of confidence. No person on the planet. There are people who are content with what they have, and I actually would think that's me. I to some degree think that's you too. I mean, there's a little bit more in the scarcity with money for you, but I don't care. I can't be bought. There's no outside thing that's going to give me peace more than I have right now. I will be excited. Can't wait to buy a house and to get fun things, and that's great, but I don't need it to be happy. I'm great. I'm good. And I worked a long time. I was good in my marriage like this. I'm better now, but I was even pretty happy there, even under circumstances that weren't great, because I trained myself to figure out what my needs were and get them met, and to appreciate what I have and to find the joy in what I have. So ladies, I'm speaking to you right now. I want you to take and learn from what I'm going to be doing as well. And I do it in other areas, but definitely this is the area I got to work on. When someone compliments you, receive it and say thank you. Do not say, oh, like if someone says, oh, this dinner was really good. Oh, no, I put too much salt in it. Or, oh, then, well, this was just leftovers. Oh, this other person cooked it. I didn't do it. Or like, don't dismiss yourself. Start to watch where you dismiss yourself and stop doing it.
Put $1 in the douche jar.
Doug's watching New Girl for the first time, and so he's loving the douche jar, in case you haven't seen New Girl. And I'm loving rewatching it with him because it's a super fun show. But okay, so stop blocking compliments. And I wrote about this in Fit to Love, but stop blocking compliments and start to find ways to look at your life and yourself differently, and acknowledge where maybe someone else's tape is in your head and start to change it by reaching out and asking for other people to reflect you back to you and for you to hold a new space for yourself. Consider doing a journal, consider going to hypnosis, and consider also watching where you sell yourself short. And just start to notice that so you can stop doing that.
And it's not just in your business relationships where this happens. It happens a lot in personal relationships as well. I mean, it probably, as you're acknowledging, it probably happens more in personal relationships. We easily discount those things, those compliments that are given to us. We easily discount the positivity that is provided, and we easily accept the negativity as truth. And just as a compliment should be received positively, the negativity does not need to be received in any way. You do not have to receive it. Your kid who is, thinks you're their punching bag, you're not their punching bag. I'm not saying to abuse your child in return. I'm just saying that's not proper. Communication is key. So just know that all negativity is not true. All positivity should be received. That's where I would go.
Okay, and if you want to strengthen your ability to receive more positivity, the next 30-day manifestation challenge is in June. We have a few weeks before we start. I see that there's about 30 some of you waiting in the wings to get into the Facebook group, and I will allow you in probably 2 weeks ahead of time, in which you'll get instructions on what to do. But please sign up if it's something that you need to practice, because I would definitely think that the affirmations and the meditations, and then there's a Lisa clearing in there that you get to use for the 30 days for free. When you come into the group, you are going to start practicing feeling better. And I think that's going to help your confidence. I've heard so many great things about people who've not only listened to the show, but been in the group and been manifesting better, more quality things in their life. So go to jjflazanes.com/30-day and join us for the June Manifestation Challenge.
Hey, do I understand that you also got a bunch of inquiries about the New Year's retreat?
Yes. We will also be creating that page for you to ask for you to do the questions that we're going to ask to see if you qualify.
We will be determining those questions on our flight back between Atlanta and Los Angeles. So that should be, hopefully, I can create that form probably next week.
So it'll be up before the end of May for any of you that are interested in the couples retreat for New Year's that Doug and I are doing. And so we'll get that out to you, as well as more detailed information if you qualify to be one of the 4 or 5 couples. It really just depends on which place we rent. And I have determined, based on some emails, that we are going to go to Palm Springs.
Oh, cool.
So this will be in Palm Springs for New Year's, and it'll be a couple of nights, and probably starting Monday. I think New Year's is on a Tuesday or Wednesday. So it'll be a few days. Again, all the details will be given to you a little bit later, but if you're interested, we'll have that all up. So for now, just go over to sign up for the Manifestation Challenge, jjflazanes.com/30-day, and send me an email if you're interested in the couples retreat, and we'll make that announcement at the end of the month.
Excited. Great having you guys here again. Come back for more.
See you next week.